My name is John. I'm a student, aspiring composer, and animator.
And I'm Jovia, John's mom, and you're listening to Conversations,
the weekly podcast where we discuss a range of topics to gain meaning
and understanding from our individual perspective. Welcome, and thanks for listening. Our conversation today will begin in just one moment, but first, a brief message from our sponsor. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. First things first, it's free, so there's nothing stopping you from trying it out. There are many different creation tools that allow you to record or edit your podcast straight from your phone or computer, which makes it extremely convenient and also easy. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on many different platforms, such as Spotify and Apple Podcast. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So if you'd like to try it out, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's ANCHOR.FM. Thank you for listening.
Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Thank you for listening, tuning in to yet another episode of Conversations. Jovia here with John. John, how's it going?
It's fine.
Going fine?
Yeah.
All right, so your feedback on that 3D artist stuff that we just watched. Tell me about it.
I think it was a good video. You touched like the more general points. He talked about not falling for the exposure trap.
What is the exposure trap?
Basically giving people false promise, like saying, oh yeah, if you work for us for free, you'll get free exposure. And that'll give you more opportunities, but more often than not, it doesn't. And the reason why they make you work for free is because they're dirt poor and they don't have enough money to accommodate you and like pay you for your work. So they're basically just using you to bring more traction to their company. And he was talking about how software doesn't matter, especially when you're starting out. Like you don't need the best one. I'm using Blender right now. I'm not the best at it, but I'm using it. Like anytime I have free time, I try and mess around with it and figure out how stuff works. I think it's fun. And I've made a few like little sculptures just like to start out. And I think it's pretty fun. So it definitely seems like something like that I could work on in my free time. Also like with drawing.
You said software doesn't matter. Talk more about that.
Like you don't need the best software.
You just need to have.
You just need one that works well enough and that you know how to use.
Okay.
And then he said that it's never too late to start, but I think that I'm at a decent start now since I'm starting to learn now while I'm still younger, so that when I'm in college I don't struggle as much. Because by then I at least know the basic stuff. So getting to the more challenging things, I don't think I would struggle with that too much. And obviously I'm working on my music in addition to like animating. Like I'm always playing all my instruments, like practicing and also creating my own work. And I transcribe music, like my own music or music that I listen to. And yeah, so I think the video was pretty good. He also talked about 3D, being a 3D artist is really hard because there are a lot of things you need to learn, like the technical stuff. And I understand what he's saying because obviously I've tried it. And yeah, it isn't easy. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. It's very precise. Mm-hmm. And it takes a lot of time. Like I saw a guy, he made like one sculpture of a random character. It took him like an hour and a half just to make one. So imagine seeing all those 3D models of the characters in movies. It takes like an hour a pop for each one, because they have to look at concept art that either someone else made or that they made, and then they use that as a reference, and then they have to make it from scratch.
That's a lot.
So they usually start out with like a spherical object, and then they shape it into a head, and they make like the skull and stuff, and then after that, they make like little holes for the eyes, and then they make the bridge of the nose, the mouth, and sometimes they move the cheeks and the chin, and they sculpt it to make it look like a human head, and then they use the grab tool to make the neck, and then the shoulders and the body and stuff. And even then, you need to know about anatomy too. So yeah, it takes a long time just to make one character, one 3D model.
And make it, but also give it movement.
Well, that's what the animators do.
Okay, so you want to do 3D and animation. You want to do the models and then animate them.
So the 3D modelers, they just create the models of the characters, and then the animators take those models and then put them in motion.
And put motion, give them life, and give them depth.
Yeah.
And give them voice and stuff. Well, that's another section, I guess.
Yeah, that's a whole other section.
Yeah, because first you do the models, and then you animate, and then the storyboard or whatever.
The environment? The environmental artists do that. They create it. They create the environments, and sometimes they create the props as well. And then you have the texture artists to make everything look real and like make everything pop out.
There's so many elements. We go to a movie theater and watch an animated movie. We don't even think about where, the whole process.
And that's why
it takes years to make these movies. And
also it costs a lot of money because they need a lot of good software and stuff so that everything can run smoothly. And also the stuff that they need to make, the movie and stuff.
So the 3D modelers, then animation,
animators,
and then texture artists. Did I get a message?
Yeah.
Texture artists.
Yeah.
And then after that,
the environmental artists, they create the environment, what's around the characters,
right?
What the characters interact with.
And then you have the sound engineers.
Yeah, they create the sound effects and stuff to make everything seem real. Because I think a lot of people think that the sounds are just naturally created, but they're not. Like there's like a team of people creating sound effects that are used. And then obviously you have the composers that compose the music that you hear.
Yeah. And then finally you have the voice actors that actually give voice to these characters. So that's the final part. They just come in when everything has already been laid. And they just have to deliver the lines and match the emotion.
And then obviously you have an editor who has to put everything together from start to finish. All of the clips from each scene, they have to put it all together and alongside the music.
Wow. It's a lot of work, but that's the kind of, you would want to be a part of a project like that? That's
something I would want to do.
You want to be surrounded with other artists, animators, and sculptors, and so forth.
I could learn from them.
So, which stage in the process are you most interested in? The modeling or the animating?
Well, both, and also the composing.
The music part.
Yeah, because the music, like, obviously the composers, like, they see what the movie's about, and they're like, okay, and usually they're told, like, what kind of music they want. for the for the movie or for whatever video game. So they're like, okay, so we're doing a movie or a game about this. We want the music to sound like X, Y, and Z. And then the composer's like, okay. So then they start composing. They get sheets of staff music, and they start getting ideas, and then they start making music, and then they give it to them, and then they'll be like, oh, try something else, or they'll make a few, and then they'll tell them like which one to them sounds best. Like they send them demos and stuff back and forth for feedback. That's how it is sometimes. And then obviously they have like orchestras sometimes. Like if they have orchestral music, they'll arrange all of the music, and then they'll have an orchestra with live instruments play, and then they'll have a bunch of microphones, like high quality microphones. So they'll have like a studio recording session, and that's what they did for Super Mario Galaxy, because the soundtrack was the first in the series to have live instruments incorporated. So they had like an orchestra of like 60, 70 people, and they were all playing. And, they have like people like musicians, like they all have the big headphones on and they're playing and stuff.
Awesome.
And then you have a producer mixing and mastering everything, making it all sound nice and clean. And that takes a long time too. That takes like hours, because they really have to take their time and make sure everything sounds good. Because you see, when you hear music and everything sounds clean and crisp,
Yeah.
it's because it's been mixed and mastered.
Right. It doesn't
Like each track was probably mixed like heavily, like a bunch of EQ and using the compressor and the limiter and stuff. And then, someone mastered all of it together, so that it sounds like one uniform thing.
Yeah. It doesn't just take hours. It probably takes weeks to master a big project, like a full movie, not just animated movie, but any movie period, because but I just want to say that I'm proud of you for knowing exactly what you want to do, and you have a specific, clear vision of what it is, and you're putting in the work. Even now, you're still just 15, so by the time you're 20 and you're ready, or 18 and ready for college, then you will just be building up on just what you've taught yourself so far. And as you said earlier, doing something you love and you're passionate about, you enjoy it, so it doesn't feel like work. I think everybody knows this. So what you have going is that you have a genuine interest in art and animation and 3D. You spend hours researching it and learning. And the music part too, music composition. So just, you've picked a lane, so stay in that lane and really, really dig deep and learn everything you can about it. Make that your niche, and you'll be successful. So, and as you get older, you might find yourself, oh, maybe I want to do something else. Maybe I want to do this. But for now, you're fully committed to animation as your thing, as an artist. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Keep up the good work. I was clear about certain things that I wanted to do, but I wasn't as specific as you. So good on you. High five. Next time, we're going to play some of the music you've created. Actually, bring your phone. Let me hear some of the stuff that, because you said you were creating something yesterday. I want to hear some of your original music, and briefly tell me how you created it.
Okay.
And I want some that you actually played, the piano, the keyboard yourself.
Well, most of them I did.
Okay.
So this is a short little melody I made. One day I was on GarageBand, and I had my keyboard out, and I had it plugged up like via USB because it's a MIDI keyboard, so I can plug it up to the computer and play. So, and then this is the melody I came up with.
Yeah, turn it up. Oh, I like the end. It sounds like something that could be in an animated, you know. Why do I keep saying Gosh, that it could be in an animated video or cartoon or something. That I get cartoon vibes from it. Let me hear one short one.
Okay. So, okay, I'll play it first, and then I'll talk about like my thought process. So that's basically it. I just let it loop again, but that's basically it.
So you played this on your keyboard?
Yeah. So like the A, this, like you see how it goes up and down? So my thought process behind that, right? So at first I had just started out with the strings that you hear in the background. And basically it was inspired by the Pokemon evolving theme from Pokemon Red and Blue. Because I really liked how it sounded, and I was like, I want to mess around with it and try and come up with my own thing. So I was at my keyboard, and I just kept playing A minor seventh, the A minor seventh chord, and I was like, I don't know what to do with it. So what I did is I took the C major triad, and I put it in the second inversion, and then I put A like under it, like as a bass note, so it was C over A, and then I kept playing it. And then I was just playing like a rhythm similar to it, but I kind of switched it up. And then I liked how it sounded. And then I was like, oh yeah, what if I went up like chromatically? So I played A minor, and then B. I think it was like B flat minor. You see how it goes like up, and then. Yeah, that was basically it. Like I was just playing that rhythm and just playing random notes to see how it sounded, and I thought it sounded cool. And initially it was just that, and I left it at that for like a week or so. Mm-hmm. And then after like a week or so I came back to it and I listened to it, and I was like, oh, what if I tried this? And then it led me to adding all that other stuff, like the pad, mm-hmm. and that little high sound. So at first it was just one track. It was just with the strings. And then I added like 2 or more tracks. And I tried to mix them a little so it didn't sound too bad. It's a little rough though. I still have to work on it, but that's
so good start. Good work. And you're saving all your work. And one day when you make it big, one day, and you will just go through all your portfolio of all the work that you've done so far. And this is just on a super basic level, you're just, you don't have the fanciest software or anything. You just have your keyboard and the iMac, and that's what you're using. And what's that? Gosh, how could I forget it? The software on the iMac.
What, the DAW I use? Yeah, GarageBand.
Yeah.
It's Apple's like free thing.
Yeah, so I just know that as you get better and, exposed to other software, you'll just even keep building and improving. Okay, play one to close us out today.
Okay.
Well, I'm super proud of what you do. I see you have a lot of them in there. So next time we'll play another one. But for now, just close us out with another piece.
This is one I just made up Like, I haven't added anything to it, but this is what it sounds like right now. That's basically it.
Ooh. I could even steal that and use that in our podcast as one of our intros or something. Pretty cool, John. Keep up the good work. Thanks for inspiring me and hopefully inspiring somebody out there to really dive into something they really like. It's not too late to start. It's just about knowing what you like and what you're passionate about. And when you do what you love, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Final thoughts, final words, John?
If you have something you want to do it. Don't wait. Just do it. Don't let people dissuade you from what you want to do.
Okay.
Don't let people take you off track, because if you know what you want to do and it's a legitimate path you can take, then take it. And don't let people tell you can't do something you can't do. I mean, tell someone to do something, to not do something, just because they think you can't. Because no one really has any limits. The only thing that's stopping you is yourself. But once you stop letting yourself stop you, you can literally do anything. It looks impossible, but it really isn't. And once you realize how easy it is to just do it, you're going to be laughing.
Well, damn. Facts. Thank you for the inspo. You have inspired me for sure. I cannot add anything to that at all. Thank you, John, and thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll speak with you next time. Have a great weekend. Cheers. And that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining John and me in conversation today. We really appreciate it. We're new at this podcast thing, so it means a lot that you're listening. And if you could do one tiny favor and share this with one friend that you think might like this episode. And if you like what you're hearing or any of other episodes, please subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere. And thanks to Anchor for making this possible. And we'll speak with you next week. Thanks for listening. Keep smiling, be well, and be safe.